The 2025 Nissan Murano looks like an Aria, kind of drives like a Rogue. Now, as you can see, this thing is entirely redesigned. It does kind of look like an evolution of the last one, although, like I said, it's a lot more like that all-electric Aria. I don't hate it. It just doesn't really stand out as much as the last one, or the one before that, or the one before that. The Murano has always been this kind of quirky looking crossover. That's still sort of the case here, but it's a little more anonymous. Now, the biggest change, no more V6 engine under the hood. Yes, another victim of much needed government regulations. Emissions, they're a little out of control. Automakers have to respond, so they're going with downsized turbocharged engines, and that is what is under the hood of this Murano. A 2-liter 4-cylinder, it makes 241 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque. It moves this thing along just fine, especially with this 9-speed automatic transmission and the standard all-wheel drive that we get in Canada. That is not the case in the US. There are front-wheel drive trims in the States that we don't get in Canada. Those make it more affordable, but they're also not as all-weather friendly as this setup. Like I said, it works just fine, burns a little bit less gas than the V6 of old. It's rated for something like 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers combined, and that old one was good for 10.4. So you are saving a little bit at the pumps, and yes, this thing does run on regular grade gas. Now, the Murano has always had this like sort of upmarket vibe to it, and that does carry over here, although I will say there are plenty of cheap feeling materials inside this new model, as well as some weird shapes and corners, stuff I feel like you're gonna get caught on, whether it's your clothes, your jewelry, or what. This corner down here on the dash when the door is open, the same thing down with the lower part of the doors. They intersect with this weird sort of arrow shape that I can see lots of people getting their pants caught on that jagged little corner. Anyways, aside from that, lots of good stuff here, including massaging front seats in this top platinum trim that I am driving. They're heated and ventilated as well. Heated front seats are standard. Once you get to the second trim, you also get heated second row seats. So that is something that sort of keeps up with the pack. The Murano was about a decade old until this replacement came along, and it was sort of feeling it with these semi-upmarket entries. It wasn't quite there when it came to feature content as well as overall feel. It was feeling a little bit outdated, so it's nice to see Nissan spruce this thing up, although I'm not so sure it's worth the money over the similarly sized Rogue. The 2025 Murano starts around $49,000 in Canada. That's before tax, but including freight. And then you have the second SL trim. That's about $52,500. And then this Platinum at the top of the lineup is about $56,500 before tax. That's not entirely unreasonable, aside from those material issues, as well as the overall vibe of the powertrain. Not quite as smooth and refined as you got with that V6 setup of old. Now, if you take a look at a competitor like the Toyota Crown Signia, it is more expensive. It also doesn't have massaging front seats, but I like it better. Not just the space inside, the fact that it's a hybrid and this one isn't, to me, makes that worth the extra money because it's priced right around $60,000. So yeah, you're looking at about $5,000 more than this top trim, but I think it's money well spent at the front end for the money you were going to save on the back end at the pumps with that hybrid powertrain. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean this new Murano is a bad vehicle. It's just not the standout of the old one. It's fairly smooth, fairly refined in terms of ride quality, but overall, the execution, it's just sort of lacking. It doesn't have the same sort of specialness of the old one. I'm telling you right now, it's worth a look if you are shopping for a compact crossover with a Nissan badge on it, but don't forget to check out the Rogue as well. That one is also coming out with a plug-in hybrid next year, which is going to make it even more appealing, and it might just leave this Murano behind.